I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have a Bible journaling process video for you. I am beginning the study for the glory of God from By the Well for God, and I am on day 1 for God's glory. The whole focus of the study is on 1 Corinthians 10:31, but I'm actually going to journal in James. We're instructed to kind of reflect on James 4:4, and I read the entire passage here at the beginning of James 4, and so I'm going to reflect on that in my Bible journaling process over here. All right, I will put you all on fast forward. As always, any products that I use, I will link down below. Let's go. This particular day was a great example when you are studying these devotionals, any devotionals really, make sure that you are reading the area around the verse that you're pointed to. I mean, you don't want to take a verse completely out of context, and it certainly wasn't taken out of context in this devotional, but it really benefited me a lot to take the time to read around the verse and to get a better idea of what was being said and communicated, and it kind of made me look at that particular day in the devotional a little bit differently. So make sure that when you're studying, you are going in depth. You can see here that I use the Ruth Alpha, which I am obsessed with, to stamp out the phrase grace for the humble. And I'm going to use these letters as a mask. So a mask is what you use to cover up stamping that you don't want to be affected by other images. You can layer stamping in this way. For me, I wanted to stamp some of the fronds from the kit in the background, but I wanted this grace to be in the middle. I actually end up taking this alpha. It is a large alpha, which I love, and I love that it's the outline and you have the middle open, and I'm actually going to layer the pieces. It kind of squishes the words together so it doesn't take up quite as much room, and I think it creates just a really interesting look. I like the idea of the letters layered on top of each other. I think it would be really fun to fill these in maybe with watercolor or just layers of paint. Even just coloring in the different intersections with a colored pencil would add a lot of interest and a lot of boldness to your title. In this case, I'm actually going to use those pink masks that I cut out of cardstock, and I'm going to cover up my title because I plan to stamp over the top of it, and I don't want the stamps I'm using to go through the title. You can see that I tend to stamp out my titles and words in almost seemingly a random order. Spatial reasoning, not my best, and actually I have to overcome a few issues in this page because, for instance, this whole title is shifted downwards a little bit more than I intended, so I'll make up for that as I go on this page. In between each letter, you see me grabbing my Lawn Fawn stamp chamois. It's how I clean my stamps really fast on the go, and it works really well. And now I'm going to take just some spare washi tape, and you'll see I just cover up each letter. And yes, I'll overlap them, and I just want to make sure that they're all covered up so that when I add the additional stamping, it's not going to go over my title. So a little bit time consuming, but I'm super happy with the effect that it ends up with. So definitely worth it. Plus I can reuse these masks later on as I use the stamp set. This is the stamp set that comes with the kit, and I love, love, love all of these images. So I'm super excited to use just one. So I wanted to go for something super graphic, and I'm going to do kind of an ombre effect. I picked out a few different distress oxides. The first one is Tattered Rose. Then I think I have tea dye, rusty hinge, and aged mahogany. And I'm going to work my way down the page. I'm just turning my stamp in some different directions and going to create kind of an ombre effect. I do run into some stamping issues that you'll see. I just don't press hard enough. So for instance, this one comes up, there's some blank spots, but that's what I love about these acrylic stamps is you can just pick them up and press again. Now I realize that I have to press harder as I'm going over this extra part with the layers of cardstock underneath, so I just make sure I press it really, really well. I am continually turning my stamp because I want it to feel a little bit random, as if these are just falling, but also you can tell this is going to be kind of a graphic look, a little bit more modern look on this. You can soften it up by using some lighter colors. You can mix up the different florals and greenery that you have coming down just to change up the look, but you can use the same technique in the ombre, if that makes sense. Well, you know me, it was looking a little bit too clean, so I pull out my favorite set of metallic watercolors. This is the Kuretake. I love, love, love it, especially this copper color. It might be my favorite metallic watercolor ever. So I am just going to splatter some copper around the page and then take this off and dry it off camera so that I can continue to work. But I just like how it kind of changed the lines, give it a little bit of a messy look. If you watched my unboxing for this kit, you know that I am thoroughly obsessed with the lion image that comes as part of the kit. And if I'm obsessed with something, either I hoard it or I'm going to use it right away. So in this case, I wanted to use it right away. I love this sticker. I'm so glad that the digitals include an opportunity to print it over and over again because I think it is so beautiful. My kids just finished reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, so they are all about Aslan right now, and this image was just perfect. They love it too. So I wanted that lion there in the corner just because I absolutely loved it. And now I'm going to do a subtitle over here. So I am spelling out the word pride, and you'll see that I decide to opt for my tweezers, and I'm putting pride with these large clear alphas, and then I'll come back with the smaller tile alphas. I love mixing and matching these just to bring interest to your page, and I am adding the phrase, "This world pushes pride." The pride that I am talking about in this case is the world's view that you have to be right all of the time, that you are supposed to know all of the answers, and if you don't know all the answers, then you should make up answers. And I think that's kind of something that happens in our society. We're taught to be really confident and self-assured, which are great characteristics, but I think you also have to be able to admit when you don't know the answer to something. And the confidence, the pride that is being talked about in James 4 leads to all of this conflict and strife, especially within the church. And so he offers in James 4 that God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. So if we can humbly admit that we don't have all of the answers, that we are submitting ourselves to God because he is the only one that has all of the answers, then God gives us that grace in return for our humility. Part of submitting to God is admitting that you don't have all of the answers, and that can be really hard, especially for someone that likes control over things like me. But I don't have all of the answers, and I have scripture and I have prayer, and I know God is using me and teaching me, but I won't have all the answers here on earth. You can see at the bottom of this page that I am writing another subtitle where it says nobody has all the answers. So the entire title says, God offers grace for the humble. Nobody has all the answers. And that's why we're called to just look to God over and over because he is the one that has the answers. I love that when I read this particular devotional day, my daily reading for that day was in Jeremiah, talking about how the Lord has plans for you. And the Lord does have amazing plans for each of us as individuals and for this world. And we are not always privy to those plans. In fact, we're rarely privy to those plans. So it's important to humble ourselves and to really listen to God. Okay, now you see that I'm trying to deal with that blank space that I kind of have up top there because my title all got pushed down. One way I dealt with it was putting the larger letters for God offers and then smaller letters under the word humble, which evened it out just a little bit more. Now I'm adding another image up there, and then I'll take the remainder of that image that I cut off just to balance it, and now it has a kind of diagonal feeling, which is just pleasing to the eye. And then I'm going to take those tile alphas. This is the reason why I love these stickers. They're just so versatile. And I'm going to pick out 3 words or phrases that popped out to me when I was reading this first passage in James 4. And those words would be submit, resist, and draw near. And those are specific instructions that James gives us on how to be humble, how to navigate some difficult arguments and some difficult parts of life. And so I thought those were 3 important terms to kind of draw out, which is why I chose to highlight them in these alpha tiles. And then it also just brings balance to my page. And that about wraps it up. I'm going to go through with my pen and underline and box out some of the verses that I was focusing on, specifically James 4, where it says, Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. And then God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And then lastly, humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I have listed all the materials I use down below, so be sure to check those out as well. I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.